So I figured out something really cool for video tutorial makers who want to use their DAW with external instruments in video tutorials. Now this is a very complex situation. It deals with like a patch-based sort of scenario. Now you hear a lot about soundflower. You need soundflower. And what happens is, so here I have my GT, which is a guitar processor. This is a patch that's running to the GT, and then the GT is running to this audio channel, and this audio channel is then sending the additional signal to Soundflower, and I call that Soundflower I/O. And what this facilitates is a situation where you can record the sound of the GT100 and the gt001 in your machine, hear it played back, and then also have the sound simultaneously recorded in Soundflower. And what it is the trick of Soundflower with the DAW is to have these two channels where one is the output of like the main situation and one is the input, okay? And they're kind of linked like that. So input would be coming out of the output here and going into the input here, and then the input here is the Soundflower, and then it's going back out to your main monitor. Okay, so the main monitor in this situation, just my speakers built into my iMac, which are really exceptional. And but to get to this point, the magic portion is right here. You got to have two Soundflower tracks in your DAW. And that'll enable you to hear the live process sound that's coming out of the gt001, for instance. And you have to have both of these options enabled with the audio input monitoring. That's what this little I is. And so if you disable either one of those, you're going to lose something in the signal chain and it just goes dead. And what happens is when you record a video, that will then show up in the sound as an audio track. So here we are in DaVinci, and you can see where this sound here is the actual sound of the gt001. And that's also called the what you hear sound in a lot of scenarios. Now, this is beyond the what you hear sound because this is the process signal that happens live with the gt001. Trust me, it's complicated to get to this. Oh my God, it took me 3 days to figure this out. And I've actually been pondering this for months, that is it even possible? I kind of walked away from it and came back to it. But it is possible because I finally figured it out. And so what we have in this situation with DaVinci is we have 4 channels. And the magic sweet spot with QuickTime is that it can record 4 channels with your screen audio. And so as long as you don't go over 4, then you can create a 4-track scenario. Because what happens is if you use more than 4 inputs with QuickTime to record your screen capture, then it defaults to a new surround sound file that creates a big mess, and you can't even work with it. And it's like a compressed file. So it has the audio tracks, but they're kind of coupled all together. So this simplifies that. We're keeping it simple because the first 2 tracks here are the audio that's coming from the microphone. It's a stereo microphone. The second set of tracks are the what you hear tracks that are coming from the computer, with the added bonus of having the live sound that is processed from the GT. There's nothing special about this particular mix. Here's an example. So that live sound's coming from this unit right here, which goes back into the computer. That's what makes the GT so complicated to use in terms of like processing with a video tutorial or any kind of instrument that you want to go outboard. It's called outboard. And so that's why it's tricky to figure out this whole scenario, this routing system. And then we have, this is the actual video that I proved that it's possible. So to recap, what we're doing here is you can capture the sound that's coming out of the gt001 for video tutorial purposes or just to illustrate the aspects of the gt001. So it would make more interesting use to show the people how you create certain things in the DAW or whatever with the patches, and you can capture it all without any further complications. So what happens is, here in this instance I just have a patch. Okay, the patch goes to the GT's wet stereo outs. Then the secondary audio channel is receiving the first set of gt001 signal. And then it's going out to soundflower. It's not going out to the stereo out. That's the catch. It's going out back into the soundflower system. So we're introducing the capturing device at this point. But we have to enable this to be able to hear this played. For instance, I can play right now. But what I have to do is have this track selected. That's just me live playing on the keyboard, right? And so you see all these things fire up at once. And I can even change the patch. You see, so there's a lot going on with this. It really makes it cool to be able to capture this all at once like this. Now, you can of course record that internally into the DAW, but for the purposes of this, we were trying to get all of this stuff captured within the video file so that we can use it for the purposes of the tutorial. So anyways, we're back here at the soundflower. Okay, so then we had to create this additional soundflower track to capture the output here that's going to the stereo out of the soundflower. Then it goes to the stereo in of the soundflower here. Now this is the magic part, because this is what's taking the sound and it's putting it out into the monitors, your listening environment. So that's why we're going to the regular old stereo out here. So we have the soundflower in, stereo out. So the path is 1, 2, 3, and success. Man, I was trying to figure this out for several days now. And you know what's crazy is having this situation here usually makes an impact on what's going on with Logic. But in this case, it really didn't. It's really wild. So I had to just set it up so that basically those channels send the signal to the proper place eventually, okay? Which is the output that's going to my live scenario, where I can hear it, but also it's going into the little soundflower system to capture everything that's happening there, both live and whatever I want to record in there as well. Perfect situation. So in this way, you see a lot of videos about people doing the microphone plus the computer sound. But this one's the third one, the missing ingredient, which is outboard signal processing for an instrument like the gt001 and other stuff like that. And in this way, we capture 3 of those elements, and it's going into a video file using just QuickTime, no fancy software needed to capture all this. And when the trick with QuickTime, once more, was just to create a device that's using soundflower and the the microphone. So the soundflower is great because it's capturing everything, and the microphone is, that's how you're going to hear what I'm doing live. And plus, I can do fancy dub stuff too, where I'm talking over things and things like that. So it's the perfect scenario to do this. And what's great about having it split like that is there's no feedback loop. So that's another missing ingredient they don't talk about in the tutorials. Is if you just try to go and do these things the natural way, you're going to get a feedback loop happening. I mean, it's just wild stuff. But using this method, you're able to capture everything going on and get it all into video. Wow, that was so much work. And it was so much work to make this video. I got to get out of here. Good luck. Music creation. CM Des.